to another edition of Office Hours, a weekly live show brought to you by Team at Bunker Labs, a national network of veteran and military spouse entrepreneurs dedicated to helping grow our ecosystem. I'm your host, the one and only Iron Mike Steadman, coming to you from Newark, New Jersey, joined by my co-host, Amy Morrison, and our special guest today, Jessica Van Dop DeJesus. Did I get it right?
Yes.
I just hung out with Jessica, y'all. We hung out like last week. It was awesome. I had her on the Transition podcast. She was getting all kind of love. I'm excited to get her on Office Hours today to talk about being a solo entrepreneur. So before I chop it up with Jess, I'm going to pass it over to Amy to share any updates that are taking place in the bunker.
Thanks, Mike. We've got a few. So first up, Breaking Barriers applications are still open. That cohort starts in August, at the beginning of August. So that is an 8-week virtual program for Asian, Black, Hispanic, and female entrepreneurs. And that's a virtual workshop. And Jessica is one of our facilitators. So then we also are welcoming our latest cohort of veterans and residents on the blog, 23B. Is getting started. So if you want to check out who's in that, you can check it out on the blog. And then we also have a Get Your First 10 Customers ebook. So tips, if you're in those early stages, tips on how to get them first 10, get started on your way. And then we've been talking about this a while, for a couple of weeks now, our crash course on small business finance that Mike put together. It's podcast with Intuit. So all things small business finance, and it. How many episodes is that, Mike?
It's 5 episodes, so it's a little mini series, but it's a crash course, y'all. I know how intimidating entrepreneurial finance can be for people, and so what we want to do is hit at a high level some of the different topics and challenges that you're going to face and how to overcome them, because a lot of entrepreneurs just don't understand how to manage their cash flow. How to find what's the difference between an accountant and bookkeeper. And so we really tried to put together a quick little field guide for you all, and hopefully it provides some value.
Okay, thank you. And then one last thing, if you want to be a guest on the show, you can check out the link that I'm going to post in the chat and fill out the form. And then I will email you and get you all scheduled and all that fun stuff. And we look forward to talking to some of our regulars. It would be nice. And that's about it for me.
Awesome. Thank you, Amy. We appreciate you.
No problem.
Jess, pleasure to have you on Office Hours. What's going on? Tell the people where you're dialing in from, and also what you've got going on with the Dining Traveler.
Well, it's nice to see you again, Mike, like you said, twice in less than 7 days. So that's pretty awesome. I am dialing in from Brussels, Belgium, where I live most of the year after I retired from the Marine Corps. And I'm the founder of the Dining Travelers. So we create all sorts of delicious content. We just got back from Sicily, from this beautiful Italian island, where we produced a series featuring food, chefs, restaurants from the from the southwest coast of the island. So we're rolling out that content right now.
So we talked about Dining Traveler, and we talked about your experience transitioning as a lieutenant colonel. I apologize, ma'am. I forgot myself. I should have, addressed you properly when you came on. But today we're going to be talking about, what are the challenges people face as a solo entrepreneur, and how should they think about building their business strategically, as opposed to, the more venture backable or old school, business where you go get a big bank loan and something crazy. You see a lot more internet entrepreneurs. I consider myself one of those. We're independent, and it can be a challenge, but it's definitely doable.
And I think that it's interesting that you mentioned an internet entrepreneur, because I think that what the internet has done, social media has done, is in many ways is democratize, right, the process of opening a business, opening a viable business. And also it's a great way for you to measure what is that your customer and your audience wants. And for me, when I thought about building my business, I was still working at the Pentagon as a GS employee, plus doing my reserve gigs. So my scale was very slow, but it also gave me an opportunity to really think about, okay, is this something that I want to do? It was, my business has always been self-funded. So I think that sometimes we see a lot of stuff on the internet and we hear a lot of stories of how people had their journey, but it's just like a gentle reminder that everybody has their own individual journey in entrepreneurship.
What do you enjoy the most about being a solo entrepreneur?
The independence. I think for me, one of the things that I truly enjoy about being a solopreneur is knowing that, okay, if I want to go to the gym on a Tuesday at 10 a.m., I can do that, even if it means I have to work till midnight, but I don't have to show up at an office and be butts and seats at 8 o'clock in the morning, or sit through these like long tedious meetings.
Yeah.
And to me, that's my why. Like sometimes I do wish I was getting paid on the 1st and the 15th, don't get me wrong. But to me, that independence, especially being a working mom and now living in the other side of the world where I do have family, back in the US, and having that independence to be able to take care of my family while still providing for them.
What do you enjoy the least about being a solo entrepreneur?
Not getting paid on the 1st and the 15th.
Yeah.
I think that those are the parts, right, of being an entrepreneur, that everybody talks about the sexy stuff and like the the freedom of movement. But I think that also with being an entrepreneur, and in my case, I have multiple streams of income. So I'm managing different things, different clients all at the same time. So, and sometimes you have clients that are great at paying you. And then sometimes I did work for the Air Force and I had to do an IG. I had to file an IG inspection because they hadn't paid me in almost a year. So those are the challenging parts, I think, about being a solopreneur, having to manage that part. And it's this constant hustle, right, of finding new clients, finding new opportunities. But it's interesting because it's a challenge, but I now, being 44, I know myself, and I know that I need, and I guess this is the Marine in me too, I need to be in an environment where I have a lot of like stuff flying at the same time. So that keeps me alive. It keeps me going.
How do you explain to other people like what you do? Because I think, especially people our age, I'm 36, like you said, you mentioned 44. So many of our peers are used to the traditional jobs, right? You're working in corporate America. They knew you in the military. And then now they're like, I see you on Instagram. You're doing this, you're doing that. It's like, what do you do? How do you earn money? Yeah.
And and this is a discussion that I've had with so in my circle of friends, I have a handful of friends from like friends from college, friends from the Marine Corps that are entrepreneurs. So like my inner circle of friends, they're not entrepreneurs. Like even my husband's not an entrepreneur; he has a regular job. So I think that and I remember in the beginning and up to like a few years ago. That in a way, because people don't think, oh, posting photos on Instagram. One of my verticals, obviously, I don't do it as much as I used to, but was influencer marketing, and a lot of people don't understand. Okay, like posting a photo on Instagram is work, and there is a part of me that I was like, I have to admit a bit of ashamed, to admit to that, and I'm like, wait, I'm paying mortgage with an Instagram post. Like, why should I be ashamed of that? And I take a different approach because this question can be asked in many different ways. I think some folks ask it because they're genuinely interested, like, hey, what is your business, or what's your business breakdown? And some people are like, oh, how do you make money doing that? And that's the one that I'm like, I don't ask you how you make your coins at work, if you sit at the Pentagon 8 hours a day or whatever it is that you do. So I think that it depends on how people approach me at that from that level. But I just tell people, I'm like, I'm a multimedia content creator, publisher, author, copywriter, and now coach. So that's what I do. And some people are like, oh, well, how do you make your money? And that's when I stop them. I'm like, I'm not asking you how you make your money.
Yeah, it's none of your business.
Exactly. I'm not. Money. I tell people, I'm like, unless I'm asking you for money, don't ask me how I make my money.
I tell you, when I first took that entrepreneurial leap in 2018, I liquidated my savings. I couldn't even sleep, y'all. I was like, I got to be great. I got to be great. 5 o'clock in the morning, you just want to hop up. I was looking for every opportunity I came across. There's a wine store in my building. I walked in there. I was like, hey, you guys need somebody to build a website? I was like, what's your budget? They're like $500. I was like, I'll take it. Built that website. Boom. But I was actually thinking about this the other day I believe that entrepreneurship is a skill set. It's a muscle that you've got to work like anything else. And the longer you stay alive as an entrepreneur, the more reps you get in launching ventures, sales, etc. You just get better and better. And there's a lot of opportunity out here. I mean, my public library just built a maker space for creators. And I was working outside yesterday on my laptop because I like to get out of my apartment. I do have a studio, but I don't like being in the studio because I'm the only one over there. It's in a very corporate-y building. My street is very lively. So I like to treat the street as like my own little personal co-working space. But these are things that I've just learned and developed for myself over the years.
I agree. I think that and that's one thing I do. It goes back to things, yes, that especially being in the digital space, right? That you're like, oh, okay, like now the algorithm changed, or now we have TikTok, or now we have this, we have that. And in many ways, obviously it's first frustrating because in one way you're like, okay, I mastered this and now I have to like learn how to do something else. But then it goes back to, do you want to do a job where you're doing the same thing every day for 10, 15 years? Or do you want to do something that keeps you fresh? And I think that for me, and I'm sorry I keep on talking about age, but aging has been on my mind a lot lately.
No,
as
it's
you know,
good.
as I'm in my 40s, and I think a lot of people, my peers, a lot of them are just retiring from the service. And I think it's hard, right, to start all over again and but in many ways, doing this work keeps me young, keeps me fresh. And it pushes me, right? Like it pushes me not to stay stagnant because like we say in the Marine Corps, complacency kills.
Now, I know we've got some people tuning in on the chat. If you got a question for either Jessica or I, please feel free to go ahead and drop it in the chat. Now, you mentioned multiple streams of income. Yeah. How do you manage to stay focused?
I have to quote Renee Bob. A lot of you guys know her, and she's like an awesome coach and mentor to me. And one of the things she told me once, she was like, what is your low hanging fruit, and hone on that. And that's one of the things that I've identified in my business structure. Like, what is my low hanging fruit? Okay, so in the start of the month, I'm like, oh, what can I do to get that low hanging fruit money? And then focus on the things that I want to do, but may not make me as much money as my low hanging fruit.
For me, I try to do the same thing, right? I put this really great quarterly plan together for my team at Ironbound Media. So I'm focused on it. We got the revenue numbers locked in. If all I do is focus on it, we're good to go. And I do business coaching as well. And I'm a premium. I charge a premium for my coaching, but I'm working last night downtown, like I said, just outside. And there's this really dope ice cream shop that just opened up by this small business owner. And we started talking, and I ended up offering to coach her, and I am, but not at my normal rate to work with her. But it's one of those things of like, financially, it doesn't make sense, but it's just so much more to this journey that we're on than just making money. This is my community, and I like having nice things. And when I see this really dope ice cream shop, I see so much potential and opportunity, and I really want to work with her. But I was like kicking myself of like, damn it, there I go losing focus again.
But it's interesting that you say that, because for me, like every month I allocate a small amount of hours of what I call my pro bono work. And that means either sitting with a buddy who's getting out and, rewriting their resume or rewriting their LinkedIn, or I just did some pro bono work for this amazing Puerto Rican chef and doing his media kit and helping him get more media exposure. So I think it's really important to allocate a few hours a month and using our services to give back. And you just never know, especially me working in the media industry. I remember back in the day, I would say like 8-9 years ago, where when I started food writing in DC, and it was super easy to get an interview with Jose Andres. Actually, in my book, The Dining Traveler Guide to Puerto Rico, like we do a whole interview with Chef Jose Andres, who's now like a global celebrity. He has like a Nat Geo show. So you just never know where people are going to end up. And I feel like I'm a big, I can sense people's energy. I can almost see like, okay, this person is, and I'm not saying to do this with an ulterior motive, like, oh, this person's going to blow up and they're going to hook me up later. I'm not saying that, but I do think that you can see something in someone and see and feel that they're doing something genuine, something that's meaningful. And if you can take a few extra hours, a month to help somebody out, it will pay in dividends later. It might be monetarily, it might be, just you feeling good that you're helping somebody else.
You're so right about that. So I was actually thinking about that. I'll just add it to like my pro bono work, because when I was coming up, man, I got my best designer. His name's Drew O'Brien. He does all my brands now. He did the Ironbound boxing brand for free. Didn't charge me a dime. And he charges like $15,000, $25,000 for work. And ever since then, anytime I launch a brand, he's the first one that I go to personally. So all my personal brands. And it's important we kind of have that because and you feel this tension as an entrepreneur, right? Especially an entrepreneur of values. You don't have to monetize off of every single thing. You don't have to monetize off of every conversation. You don't have to monetize off of every individual. Now, I'm going to contradict myself because I tell a lot of y'all, avoid non-revenue generating conversations like the plague early on because you'll just get in the hustle of having meetings and talking, but not actually driving revenue. So there is a balance there. But I just meant don't be so damn transactional all the time.
I agree. And I think that sometimes, we go to conferences and obviously we go to network and to meet people and to get business. But I'm not that type of person. I mean, I think that is maybe cultural. It's like, we have to have a conversation. Like, we can't just be like, oh, hi, my name is Jessica. My name is Mike. And, oh, do you want to do business with me? No, I need to be like, wine and dine before. Like, I mean, when it comes to, and you just never know. Sometimes leads take years to convert. So, keeping those warm leads there, checking in with folks, sending them holiday emails if you know their birthday. A lot of the people, like for example, on the media side, I'm a freelance food and travel writer. So I have a list of editors that I want to work with, and I have their social media handles. So from time to time, I'm not like a stalker, but once every few weeks, I look them up on Instagram and I like their posts and I comment so they can see, hey, I'm here. So don't be afraid to connect with these folks on these people that you admire, these people that you want to work with on social media, and kind of develop a relationship that way.
How do you manage your time?
It's an ongoing battle because, first of all, I live in Belgium and most of my business is in the US. I would say 95% of my business is in the US. So I do sometimes work late at night. Like last night, I was up almost until midnight between calls and doing some client work. I'm a working mom. I have a 6.5-year-old that's gonna come barging through this door any minute now. And but what I do is, and one of my coaches from before, Amy Haynes, she taught me this color blocking system, and I have to say, it's helped me a lot. Putting out a calendar for the week and just saying, okay, I make my working stuff green, for money. And, I have a different color, like yellow for working out and, pink for my family. So it's just being able to look at this week and be like, oh, okay, this is, these are my income generating activities. This is my time with my family. This is my time to work out. Do I adhere to it all the time? No, but at least it gives me a good blueprint of where my week is going.
I do the same thing. I got it colored and I blocked out, and I did a whole little video on my personal page where I talk about how to do your ideal work week. My admin hits me up on Friday. She was like, you need to follow your own advice, because I'll create this perfect work week and I'll brief the team on it. And then I'm like, hey, book this, book that. Because I just create chaos when I jump in my calendar, but a plan is only as good as a plan that survives first contact. And for entrepreneurs like us, we realize there's also some momentum at times, right? Especially when you're constantly trying to close new revenue, bring on new customers, right? If I feel like I got a bite, I want to do it today. I don't want to put this off 2 to 3 weeks. So it's that art and kind of science of it. And I don't think there is a perfect system. Everybody's trying to life hack, get their little 4-hour work week going. Good luck.
Yeah,
out here in the real
I
world.
want to know who are these, unless you're outsourcing everything and you have like an unlimited budget to pay the folks that you're outsourcing stuff to people. Like I would love to learn how to do that. And I think that another thing that works for me, and that's, just me personally, is that, not planning too far ahead. It's good to have an outline again of, okay, in the next 6 months, I want to do X, Y, and Z. But, I plan my week for the week because I don't know what's going to happen next week. What if an opportunity pops up this week that I have to factor in those hours? So unless I do have something on the pipeline that I know that it's there, it's a contract that it's signed, I try not to do a lot of, except for kind of an overall kind of goal where I want to go. But I don't fall in love with my plan, like we say in the Marine Corps.
So before we talk about book recommendations, I do want to bring up another topic. I heard you name drop coaching. You said Brene Brown. You said some other ones, right? I'm big on coaching too, both as a coach myself. But my first coach was Bill Watkins from the Lions Pride, who's now with me in Flawless Acceleration. And then I hired a branding coach named Pia Silva. And I'm going to always have a coach. It's just too hard.
I have to say one of the books that we can combine the book conversation with this with coaching is there's a great book. It's like super light. It's called You're a Badass, and she talks about coaching, and she talks about how every great athlete has a coach, right? So everybody should have a coach to do something. And a few years ago, as I was getting out of the Marine Corps, I hired a friend who became a coach. And she was the first one. Her name is Amy Hayes. Like she got me into, and she's in the media world. So, she knew firsthand about my business, and it was very helpful, like very helpful for organization, very helpful in kind of organizing what I wanted my goals to be. And I recently, one of the people I've been working through Bunker Labs that I've been working with is Renee Bob. And I just love her energy. I love what she has to say. And now, I'm one of her clients, and I love having somebody that I have to check in with. And I think that that's one of the things that a lot of folks, when we're transitioning from the military, where, even in the Marine Corps, when you're like a senior officer, unless you're the commandant, and even he gets direction from Congress on where he wants the Marine Corps to go. But we're used to being in this environment where there's always a commander's intent, there's always a plan, and then you kind of have to execute it, right? You implement, obviously, especially as a senior officer, senior staff NCO, obviously you implement, you make a plan, but you always get direction from higher. Whereas when you have your own business, you are higher, so you need to come up with a plan. So I think if to me, it is very helpful having a coach to kind of making sure that you stay disciplined and that you stay on track to achieve your goals.
How did you justify the investment, given the fact you're solo entrepreneur, not venture backed, right? Don't have a business loan. This is a big expense because coaches cost like $1,000, $1,500. It's not cheap.
It pays itself back, honestly. I mean, like every time I've gotten coaching, it's paid itself back and then some. So to me, it's tax deductible. So
Yeah.
to me, it's always been a good investment.
I like Fiona Kilachy. I'm gonna recommend a book for y'all. She's got a book called Passion, Purpose, Profit, like Sidestep the Side Hustle. It's really good if you're a solo entrepreneur, small business owner in general. It's the closest thing to having a business coach in a book. I like Michelle Warner. I had her on the podcast to talk about the 5 stages of small business growth. So there's a good ecosystem out there of entrepreneurs that are supporting, small business owners through coaching. So be sure to check that out. Next thing, book recs. What's your recommendation, Jess?
So one of the books I've been reading, I read it, and now I mostly listen to, and I do this like at least a few times a year, is The Power of Intention by Wayne Dyer. And I think that the first time I read this book was like in 2008 when I was stationed in Germany. And I think that to me, having the right mindset as you, especially being an entrepreneur, right? Like going back to what we were talking about previously, that it's easy to get discouraged. There's a lot of ups and a lot of downs. And I think that the book in many ways is like more on the spiritual side, but does such a great job in identifying your intention and putting your intentions out there, and just helps me kind of define what I want my goals to be with Dining Traveler.
Yeah. Sal, we got a comment. My man Sal. What's up, Sal? Sal sent me a book himself. I appreciate you. The book was Passion, Purpose, Profit, Sidestep to Side Hustle by Fiona Kilachy. It is an amazing book. I'm telling you, it's a great book. I actually had her on the podcast, but there was something that happened with the audio, and it didn't record or something. But I sent her a personal thank you every time I see that book posted online, because it's so good. So definitely check that out. My book recommendation is actually The SaaS Playbook by Rob Walling. Build a multi-million-dollar startup without venture capital. Now, here's where I'm going. I've noticed about myself, Jess, I like independent authors. Like, I like these little internet people that take the time to become a real thought leader, share some real thoughts, not just regurgitate everything else that's out there. And so I'm quick to buy books online from authors most people haven't heard of. I really like Rob Walling. He wrote a book called Start Small, Stay Small, a developer's guide to like launching a startup. And that's a book that will get you up to $10,000 in monthly recurring revenue and beyond. He breaks it down. It's like really good, really tactical book. And the SaaS Playbook is that next level. But I love everything from Rob Walling. I bought all his books. He even has another book, The Entrepreneur's Guide to Keeping Your Shit Together, that he wrote with his wife, who's like a psychologist, a therapist for entrepreneurs. So like I feel like in this game you have to read. I'm always surprised when people are like, Mike, I need some help or I need some guidance, and I'll make a book rec, and like people don't want to take the time to read it. I wrote a whole damn book and they still won't read it.
No, I mean, I don't have an entrepreneurship book, but I did write a book about Puerto Rico. I did a hardcover coffee table book called The Dining Traveler Guide to Puerto Rico. And I tell people, I'm like, even if you don't have time to read, like, I mean, I love Audible, and I love, for example, I've been listening to a Tony Robbins book, and this guy already, his voice is moto, right? Like you're on the treadmill and you're like, okay, Tony's telling me to get the day started. I'm getting the day started with Tony. So I think that there's a lot of resources out there that even if you don't have the time before you go to bed, or some people are just not book readers. You have audiobooks, you have podcasts, you have YouTube channels. So there's just so much information out there. But I do believe, kind of like how we do our PT in the morning and we run, or we do our routine. I think that to me, I always get an extra boost from listening or from reading books on self-development.
Absolutely. So Jess, as we get ready to close out here, where can people find you? How can they follow you?
They can follow me at diningtraveler.com, and that's in every platform. Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, you name them, I'm there. And on LinkedIn, Jessica van Dop DeJesus. I'm the only Jessica van Dop DeJesus probably in the world, so not that difficult to find.
So if y'all haven't noticed, I have a little superpower. I read a lot of books, and I'm basically like a PhD in book recs at this point. If you say your knee hurts, I'm like, read this book. When it comes to business. And so I say a lot of book recs, and the chat starts tweaking. They're like, Mike, can you say those again? Da-da-da. Amy has been working behind the scenes to put all the links to the books in the chat. But what I will do, and I'll do this for the Bunker Labs blog, maybe I'll put a list of my top 10 favorite business books. And then that way you'll have that access to it. And then I play around online too. So one thing I do is I record content, I'll write content. Sometimes it's the same thing. I'll post the content. It's to get redundancy. Right. And so I'll also probably drop that on my LinkedIn. So I just took a note to myself, writing some of my personal book recommendations. Jess, it's been a pleasure to have you here. You all can listen to Jeff's story on the transition, which is dropping this Thursday. Really, really dope episode. I'm looking forward to releasing that. And also I want to acknowledge our sponsors for the Transition podcast, the MetLife Foundation. It's been with us for like 3 years at this point, making that show possible. Got another question from Oscar Cruz before we go. Are you guys open to mentoring or weekly Q&As? We do not do it directly on here, but maybe I will organize a Q&A just for office hours so you all can come bring your questions. We got so many programs at the Bunker. I'm telling you.
And can I do a quick plug?
Yep.
Is that, our breaking barriers in entrepreneurship applications are currently open. We start next month. So, and I think there's only, up to August 1st you can apply. And it is such a great program. I just facilitated the last cohort. It's 8 weeks, so it's one hour a week. So it's like a very small time. I know a lot of folks. We had folks that are still on active duty, people that are launching their businesses, people that are mid journey, and I have to say I learned so much from our speakers because we do everything from getting your business certified to time management to digital marketing and social media. So people learn tons. I learned a ton just from being the facilitator, and also with breaking barriers, the facilitators also offer a half an hour free free office hours. So we help folks with their pain points and give them some great resources so they can continue to scale their business.
Awesome. So appreciate you, Jess. And again, make sure you check out bunkerlabs.org and learn about all our amazing programs. Until next time, everyone, peace, love, have a great rest of your week.